Hello and welcome to the Aten Inquisition, where we spend a little bit of time getting to know the populous members of the Kingdom of Atenveldt. We're Morgan and Elizabeth, your hosts. Today, we are the current king and queen during these times of plague. And today, we are chatting with the Honorable Lord Wade Greenwall. Wade, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I can do that. Hi, I am Wade Greenwall. Sometimes just Wade. Other times I am his loveliness. Depends on how you know me.
Nice.
What kind of ship are you, Wade?
Well, when I got my first ship, I decided that I was a cruise ship. And when I got the second, I think I might be a little dingy.
That might come in handy these days because cruise ships are sort of on the outs right now.
They really are.
It's kind of a rough go right now, man.
But they should have a big comeback, in a year or two.
Right? Give it a minute.
Yeah. Well, if you buy your tickets now, you'll get it for cheap.
Right?
So how did you find the SCA?
Well, I found the SCA twice. When I was in high school, I had a crush on my math teacher for like 4 years. And after I graduated, she actually invited me to help her move into like the single teachers, like mega house. There were like five single teachers in the district all living together, and she was moving in. And so I was helping her move in. And I'm walking around, I was like, that's a claymore. That's a suit of armor. Who the heck are you people? And that was in Los Angeles. Leondomir, I think is what that would have been. They gave me some instructions. This was the late 90s, so the internet existed, but barely. I spent the next few months trying to figure out how to weld a helmet when I didn't know what welding was.
Oh, no.
And then I went off to trade school and promptly forgot it. A few years later, my now ex-wife and I, her best friend was involved in the SCA, but in a non-SCA group. And so we went to some of their practices for a little while, and she was like, no, there's too much drama here. And so then as soon as we broke up, I went to Estrella, and I've been playing ever since. And that was 10 years ago.
So what part mundanely is that in California?
That is Redondo Beach, Torrance, Los Angeles area.
Okay. So
and then so when I found the SCA for real, I was in Phoenix, the Phoenix metro area, also known as the Barony of Atenveldt. Technically, I was living in the Twin Moons lands, but the people that I knew that were getting me involved played in the Barony of Atenveldt, so I played there.
Fair. So what's your favorite story from back when you started playing?
Oh, that is a really good one. So when I first started playing, I was in sort of what we affectionately refer to as a fringy household. Mm-hmm. And the guy who ran it, Hoshef, he was like, oh yeah, I know everybody. I can hook you up with anybody, and it was great. And so, we hung out and had great parties, but I was like, okay, I'll call you on that. Hook me up with something, anything. I want to do something more. So he took me to Angelica, who took me to Kedivore, and was like, hey, you need a herald? This guy knows how to talk. And Kedivore was like, great, I need somebody to cover for me because I can't make it to the next event. So he hands me this book and says, just read the script. I go to my first baronial event. It was the Champions. And for my very first time in court ever, I'm trying to herald in their excellencies, Silos and Elena. And I didn't realize that I was supposed to walk in front of them. So I'm just walking forward, I'm like standing there, and then they're like, no, go. And I'm stumbling all over myself, stumbling over the words, because I've only read them like 17,000 times at that point. But it was my first time in court. I was a little nervous. We get up there. I open court. Her Excellency Elena asks the populace to excuse the new herald smell. But really, at that point, the nuts and bolts of court happened. Awards were given. People were called up. Not in that order. I mean, sort of. And having the view of looking over the shoulders of their excellencies and having later perspectives of looking over your majesty's shoulders, watching the expressions as people realize that they are being recognized, just filled me up with so much stardust that day that I have never looked back. It is my favorite thing in the world to do, is to be there and see firsthand all of the moments where people realize that they're noticed and that they matter. And especially in times like what we're going through right now, having people know that they matter is really important.
Yeah, it's definitely the highlight of getting to be crowned, or even being Baron, is getting to have those moments and letting people know that they're part of the group, they're part of the family. That we see them, and we see what they're doing.
I feel like Wade would like your folder of ugly cries.
I do have a folder on my computer of pictures of people that I've made ugly cry, because I've hit that emotional string.
Yeah.
I don't share them with the world, but I cherish them for myself, because it means I did my job. It means I made that connection with that person.
I will get a little teary most of the time. I think there's only one time that I really ugly cried.
Which time?
That was when I got my golden trumpet. When I got my ship from His Majesty Casca. Because it was day 2 of Casca's reign.
Yeah.
And I had not really known Casca. I'd known of Casca. And he was a legend before he won crown. He, just like everybody that had ever said anything about the man, was said in reverence and awe, because he is just that epic.
He's Casca.
And he's huge. There are not many people that are big enough to scare me, but like his hands, like they're like enormous. Like I felt like a little kid, But yeah, so he called me up, and this was one of the very few times that I was not already up behind the thrones, taking care of my excellencies, because they hadn't made it that day. So I was in the back, just chit-chatting and actually, and small talking, not paying attention to court. And here comes, I think it was, I forgot who came. I think it was Simon. I don't even remember who came and grabbed me, but they came and grabbed me, and I didn't know. I thought they were coming for Takago or Awa. And no, they came and grabbed me, and we went up there, and I was just like, what the heck did I do? Why am I here? Like, I haven't done anything recently.
Evidently you had.
And then, yeah, I got a little,
it's like the Lady of the Lake, just
right? It's her loveliness, Lady Roz.
She's pretty lovely.
The lady of the kitchen.
The lady of the beverage. Is it a hot beverage?
It is, in fact, it is a hot tea.
Solid plan. In the snow.
Right.
Oh, sorry. It is apple chai. Chai is a kind of tea, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, of course. So tell us a little bit about your persona and your heraldry and how you picked it, and if it has any meaning.
So one of the first things that I thought of was that I have really only ever had one name that ever mattered to me, that I ever responded to. Never really had much in the way of nicknames that I really responded to. So I knew that I needed to keep Wade. that much I knew right off the bat. From there, I looked it up, and Wade was an English name, so I knew that I needed an English surname. So I started thinking about things, and at the same time, I'm thinking about my heraldry. And I'm kind of a computer geek, so I was looking at a computer motherboard, and I was like, "That's really pretty." And so I started trying to figure out what the heraldic equivalent of that would be. And it is vert masoned ore. It's a green with yellow lines on it, gold lines on it, which is what a motherboard is green with gold lines. And so I figured out a way to make those lines, and with a little bit of artistic license, you could make it look like a motherboard. But then once I had the heraldry, I was like, oh, Greenwall. All right, Wade Greenwall.
Now I have the name.
Then came the interesting part. Because I went to karaoke with my best friend, Randolph, and we were at the thing, and we were making funny Russian voices, and I challenged, and he was like, I say that I can do any song in the Russian accent. I know accent this well. And so he challenges me, and he picks a song that I've never even heard of. And I sing it. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say the title because it has the B word in it.
Does it start with crazy?
It does, in fact.
Fair. Okay.
And so I sing that in a Russian accent at karaoke, and the entire bar is just rolling in laughter. Every other time that we went back to karaoke, the disc or karaoke jockey was like, "You're singing that song. You're up next."
Oh, I guess this is me now.
Right. And so I was like, all right, well, now I need a Russian persona, but I have an English name. How's that going to work? And so I started doing some research, and I found out that the Hanseatic League stretched all the way from London to Novgorod. And so I started doing a little bit of research in the time period when that would have happened, and figured if my father, a third son of a nobleman in England, got hooked up with the Hanseatic League and ended up stationed in Novgorod, I could have been born and raised there, an Englishman, but also a Russian. So that's Vidania.
All right. So, and you have plans for armor, or do you have the armor already?
Armor?
Not armor. I'm sorry. It was your gambeson, I want to say, that you were having made. We've talked about this, you and I. That was half Russian and half English.
Oh, so that was actually rapier, or no. So that was it was essentially like an English doublet, but cut on the side, so that it had the Russian neckline.
Right.
And yeah, I had that for a while. It's actually at the point where it needs to be repaired so badly I can't wear it anymore.
Darn it. All right.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So what is your current goal within the SCA?
Well, that's going to really have to fall back on my motto, which is do all the things.
That's a lot of things, Wade.
It is, in fact. I challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Do you have them tiered so you can check them off as you go, or we just winging it, going at random?
Oh, well, it really, in a lot of ways, is about just making sure that I have fun, because if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Agreed.
I have a few that are official commitments and pseudo-official commitments. I am the apprentice to Master Richard McCouth. And so definitely getting my laurel is high up on that list. I kind of picked that path because I felt of all the paths, it was probably the most difficult for me. I know that heralds and heralding in this kingdom is generally seen as a service, and it absolutely is a service. But I have been doing a lot of research and a lot of study into the art of vocal heralding and vocal heraldry, and trying to bring that into my performances. And so that is probably my ultimate goal at this point, is to try and get recognized for that.
I think that's fair. And I totally agree that heralding is both. It's an art and a service.
Which is why the Golden Trumpet is a grant level award specifically for the art and the service of vocal performance.
Yep.
So, you've done tons of different jobs, arts, you fight on all the fields, but of all of that stuff, what have you done that you're especially proud of?
There's so much. I probably the highest accomplishment that I did in my fighting arts was when I got to be Your Majesty's rapier champion during your last tenure. For those that are not aware of the Queen's Rapier Champion tournament, it is the closest thing that the rapier community has to Crown Tournament. It is our biannual, semi-annual, biannual. I always get those confused.
Semi-annual.
Twice a year tournament that is the showcase of the best in the kingdom. And it was my first time coming back to that tournament after having been the Corona Herald for a couple of years. And so it really meant a lot that I had held on to a rose that I'd been given by the Queen of Texas. Ansteor. The Queen of Ansteor had given me a wooden yellow rose. She said, "This rose would never die."
So
and I kept that from, what's that?
I said, so funny.
Yeah, so punny. So I kept that for a couple of years while I was Corona Herald, because I couldn't participate in that tournament, and I was able to give it to you. And then the fact that I won that day was the most magical moment that I'd ever experienced on the fighting field. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for that day.
You are a tremendous champion.
And it's sort of bled over. The wooden rose thing has become a thing that I've started doing a lot now, especially with my fiance, Lady Roz. I bring her little wooden roses, and so she has a whole container full of them on her desk at work from having them given periodically. And we're talking about actually doing wooden roses and stuff in her bouquet at the wedding.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, something that would never die.
It's true. So is there anything that you really love doing that's just sort of outside of the norm for you? Like something just sort of oddball that you do in the SCA that just really, you love it even though it's different?
Yeah.
Well, they've been playing behind you.
Sorry?
They've been playing behind you.
Yeah, well, one of them just went into the van that I'm using as a stand for my computer.
Awesome.
I mean, it's cold out. I don't blame them. So one thing that's outside the norm for me, see, that's really hard because there's not much that's outside my norm. I'm pretty open and accepting of all the things. I mean, I love my arts. I love my sciences. I love my fighting, all the different kinds of fighting, the archery, um, weird things. Weird thing? Well, I mean, I guess for me, one of the weirder bits is in my delving into the depths of the history of heralding. It's really taking me pretty deep into Roman history, and you know, and so as a not Roman guy, digging into some of the earlier works of Cicero and Quintilian, and reading about how they educated heralds, and well, really not heralds, they educated senators and orators, and everything from how to choose the right nanny for somebody who will eventually be a senator. Um, it's an impressive amount of information that is left behind from the Romans. And then the town criers and stuff, they picked it up and used some of the hand gestures and symbolism that turned into heralding. So yeah, I would not have expected that I'd be digging that deep into Roman history.
I would not have expected that answer at all, actually.
It's amazing what you can learn, though. So, other than the Russian accent, what's something that you think you're known for?
What I'm known for? See, now this is where it gets really tricky. It once again depends on what community you're a part of. People who go to court know me for being a herald. People who, fight, they may know me as a rapier fighter or as a hard suit fighter, usually on the opposite field. The hard suit fighters will often know me as a rapier fighter. They go, oh, he's that rapier fighter. He's not so bad. The rapier fighters, oh, he's a herald, but he's not a bad fighter. People on the archery field are like, oh yeah, he's that stick jock. He's not so bad with a bow.
So what advice would you have to a brand new player?
Well, usually, when brand new players are sent to me for advice, they're usually being sent for a heraldic consult. It is fair. And most generally, I tell them, figure out what you want to wear. That is the first step in building a persona. If you want to have a cohesive persona, if you are not somebody who wants to wear 17,000 layers of wool and a gazillion pearls, don't pick late period Italian. That's not the right persona for you. If you get hot really easily, yeah, Roman, togas, Greek, togas, do that thing. But figure out your comfort level in what you're willing to either make or get somebody to make for you, or buy, but if you start with what you want to wear, everything else kind of is really easy to stack and put into place to build a cohesive persona.
That makes sense.
So I'm sure that there's going to be many, since there's nothing you don't dive into, but who inspires you?
Oh, geez. So many people. I mean, your majesties are definitely very high on that list. Obviously, I already talked about the moment that I had in front of Casca and Melissa, and like they are great inspirations. Aside from moments like that, because there are so many, because the crowns of Atenveldt are practically by definition inspiring. There are a lot of other people. God. Where to start? Let me think for just a second here. Trying to come up with like the top end of my list, and that's also still really tricky because I have like so many Belt siblings through Master Richard because he's a little bit prolific, and they as a Belt family are super inspiring. And then there's my lady Roz. She is probably the single biggest inspiration of in my life on a day-to-day basis, other than maybe my daughter, Lady Dawn. God, and then Lady Roz's whole Belt family, Simon, and his brood and all of his lineage is pretty freaking great. I can say freaking, right?
Yep.
Trying to think of somebody outside of those like regular boxes. I'm gonna go with oh God, I don't know their SCA name.
That's okay.
Danny and Maddie.
Oh.
They moved out of Kingdom a little while back, but they're working through problems, and their art and their fighting and everything that they do. I find them super inspiring. In these COVID times recently, Sir Demetrius he's also going to Albuquerque, but he's also been super inspiring lately, reaching out to me via the internet to encourage me and give me advice on improving where I'm at right now. And then I'm in the process and have been for a while of trying to take a Squire's belt from Count Brian. And we're just in that process. And obviously I wouldn't take a belt from somebody who doesn't inspire me.
Sure.
And that is an amazing person. I'm going to have a drink. As well as all of the Winterborn household, they've reached out and been so welcoming. It's great.
So how are you keeping yourself busy during this weird plague year?
That is probably the least Scadian question that you could have asked.
I know, right?
I'm in nursing school.
Oh yeah, you're busy.
The plague years could not have possibly happened at a better moment.
Right.
Because I get to have all the time that I need to study and go to school, because nursing school is ridiculous. Like, I was taking 20 credit hours and in pre-nursing prerequisites. I took 20 credit hours. I was working full time, and I was still super active in the SCA. And was not stressed at all about any of my time. I had an almost 4.0 GPA. It was great. Got into nursing school. I'm dropping down to 12 credit hours and working only one day a week. And I'm overwhelmed and not getting A's anymore. And it's like the level of difficulty of nursing school versus non-nursing college is just ridiculous.
Yes.
But even there, I'm still doing more than just the minimum. I'm currently the president of the Student Nurses Association at the college. I also went on and actually before that, when I was doing prereqs, I am the founding president of the Living History Club at the community college. Because I wanted to try and create an interface, not necessarily like Brimstone or a St. Felix, but a little place where I could share what I love and get people involved and maybe like get some crossover.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I've noticed is you have, some people are great at bringing new people to the SCA. And I try real hard to do that. But when so much of my life has become the SCA, I don't have any other friends. But like any friends that I know outside the SCA, they know the SCA. They've either played before or they've, given it a try and it wasn't for them. But like I've shared my love with everybody. And I need access to more people to become friends with in order to get more friends into the SCA. So yay, Living History Club.
Heck yeah. I love it.
It is a good way to do it.
Right?
So
got to crossplay.
What is one thing that you feel like we've lost over the years that you'd like to see come back?
Wow. I mean, that's a really, really hard question.
Yeah.
It's super loaded.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I'd love to see most come back that we've lost over the years are some of our people.
Yeah.
We have lost a lot of really good people over the years, and it's heartbreaking.
Agreed.
Especially as Facebook shows you memories and you're like, oh, that was so sad now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that people passing away is the downside to having connections with so many wonderful people, is that the frequency is that much higher. So
it really is. Like before the SCA, I knew like 5 people who had passed away, maybe total. Like, and that was like my grandparents.
Yeah.
And not even all of them, but
Yeah.
And so now, like hearing about losses, especially in the COVID plague times, even people who don't die from the plague, there's still a lot of people passing away, and it is very, very rough.
Yeah.
And working in the medical profession, because I've started working as a CNA middle of last year, and working towards being a nurse. 104 more days. Well, 103 more days by the time this is posted. And right, it's heartbreaking seeing the end to anyone's journey. And I am so honored that I get to have a place and a moment with them, and that I get to try and make that a little bit better and a little bit brighter. And even our friends, or my friends that I did not get to see in their final moments, I hope that my messages to them and our past experiences made their life just a little bit brighter. And that is probably one of the hardest things, is to keep that in mind every day, because you never know when it's going to be your last goodbye. I mean, there's no way that any of us would have known at last Estrella that so many of our family, our chosen family, are not going to be back next time.
Yeah.
It has been a terrible year for that, for sure. Okay, so let's bring it up a little bit.
Okay, yeah, up. I can do up. Da.
Okay, so not respective to which kingdom you were playing in, what is your favorite tradition that you've seen in the SCA?
Oh, there's some really good traditions out there. One of my favorites is the ceramics as the site favor at Starkhoff and Yule.
I dig that too.
Yeah.
I still use my bowls from the last time I went on a daily basis. It is just in my cabinet with all my other little bowls, because it is, especially since I've been trying to lose weight, putting food in smaller portioned bowls helps with that psychologically. And so it was, it's my small bowl that I put all food in every day.
Awesome.
Another one that I really dig is the Lord and Lady of Love from the Barony of Atenveldt. I am the third person to be Lord of Love twice. The second person to be Lord of Love twice is my Master Richard. And the first one to be Lord of Love twice was Baron Otto, who, referencing the last one, is I'm supposed to bring it up. Dang it!
Come on, Wade.
All right. Motivation.
So, with all of the different traditions you've seen in your travels, are there any that you'd like to see go away?
Go away?
Yep.
Go away. It's not so much a tradition, I don't think, as a logistics issue. At least on the West Coast or Western Kingdoms, the fact that the rapier scenarios and hardsuit scenarios are at the same time is very frustrating as somebody who plays both sides. I really enjoy the fact that at Pennsic and the other Eastern wars of the kingdoms that go to Pennsic regularly, they have recruited their knights to fight on the rapier field, and they've recruited their mods and their white scarfs to fight with spears on the hardsuit field. And so because of that built-in cross interaction, they schedule things at different times so that everybody can play all of the different fighting games. And so I'd like to see our process of doing everything at the same time go away and be replaced more with that other scheduling ability. But I don't know the logistics behind that.
Well, I mean,
I'm sure that there are a lot.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but it's certainly something worth exploring, right? I mean, we want to be more inclusive. So I don't think that's a bad suggestion. So what is your favorite event?
Ooh, I mean, obviously Estrella. It was my first event, and it is our biggest event. It is the one that I get to do probably the most meeting and greeting of all my friends and chosen family. But aside from the big obvious one, does it have to be in Kingdom?
No.
No? Then it's really going to be a toss-up between my two favorite out-of-Kingdom wars, which I believe are actually Your Majesty's favorites as well, Battlemore and Great Western.
Yeah, we like those a lot.
They're amazing. The fighting is so epic, and the hospitality is just on point.
Yeah.
I remember, I think the last time I went to Battlemore, it was just everything was going on, and I finally was just exhausted. I could not do any more fighting, so I found my way over to the bead making tent, and I did lampwork bead making, and I was just like, take my money. I want to be here all day. No, that session's over. Where's next? Okay, take my money. And it was just because it was like, I think $6 an hour to pay for the gas and lamp fuel, and the supplies. And it was make as many beads as you can. And I think I ended up spending like a day and a half in that tent just playing with fire, learning a new craft. At some point, I really hope to, get my own lampwork bead making set up, but it's a little rough in the current environment. I don't have anywhere to put it.
That's a thing.
Well, it's certainly cold.
That's probably my biggest limiting factor on arts and crafts is I don't have enough room to put everything. And I don't know if anybody's seen any of my videos when I am working on stuff. Like I have an enormous garage. It's not mine. It's Lady Roz's grandfather's garage, but it's enormous. So I have lots of room for lots of crafts. I still don't have nearly enough room.
I think that's sort of I'm in the same boat. I know he's in the same boat. Like, I think we're all in that because
it's never enough room.
Yeah. Because if you could have the stuff to do all the art that you want to do, like, yeah, it's a lot of stuff. I need a bigger house for that.
Right. You basically just buy an apartment complex and then just have each apartment be a separate studio.
Here's the lamp work apartment.
I think I would go with like a big industrial building. So
probably safer. There's a lot of fire involved in artwork.
Yeah.
Here's the casting apartment.
Right.
What would make a perfect event for you? If you could mold it and be just perfect for you.
A perfect event. So a lot of what goes into a perfect event is planning. And so knowing what I'm going to do when really helps me. I'm not one of those people who go on vacation and like sits on the beach with a book. I'm the one who it's like, all right, we have 15 minutes to make it to this museum. We have 45 minutes to make it through this section. And then we have, half an hour to make it to the next museum. And then we have, 2 hours there. Like, my vacations are just, down to the minute. I know what I'm going to do when and where. And I just love absorbing all that knowledge. And for me, vacations are being able to do the things that I can't do on a normal basis. Sitting around reading a book, I can do that all the time.
True.
So when I go to an event, a perfect event, it's like there are things to do. There are enough things to keep me busy, but not so many that I don't have time to chat with friends when I run into them. And not so many that I have to choose between what I want to do, which for me is really hard. That never happens. I'm always having to choose between two things that I want to do.
So if you could add something new to events to make them better, what would that new thing be?
Ooh, something new to make events better. There's a lot of little nitpicky things, something new. Honestly, it would be really cool to see hospitality mobs where you get some people together and you're going meandering, from camp to camp to camp like you do, but with a special emphasis on, I don't know you. Are you new? Tell me about yourself. And like really starting to build and cultivate those relationships and bring them together and grabbing and sharing those new things and making people who maybe a little bit more shy feel included. Because I know a lot of people, if they don't have a specific invitation of come with us, they won't. Yeah. And they'll sit in camp and they'll be bored or they won't be bored, but they may not have as much fun as they could if they were joining along and being part of the group.
I think that's brilliant, actually.
It's funny because I can remember for a large portion of the beginning of the SCA for us, it was, we were part of a household and we lived in camp, except for when we were on the battlefields. And I think of how small my SCA was at that time versus now where we travel and I spend all of my time doing what you just said, like meeting new people, even in Kingdom, like I started looking for, hey, that person doesn't look like they fit in. Let me go help them, and just started talking to anybody and everybody. And it makes leaving events like almost impossible because there's so many people that you have to say goodbye to before you leave.
Like,
so hard. Oh my God.
But
yeah,
I feel so much richer for it, for having all of those friends and those connections that I can't imagine not having them at this point. So, so we're gonna lay the heavy question on you now.
All right.
What does being a peer mean to you?
Being a peer means that you have accepted the responsibility of being a role model. You, forever forward, you are going to be known as a peer of the realm. And people are going to point to you as an example of how to do whichever peerage you're known for, or multiples in some cases. And so that it's a new job. It is absolutely a call to action to raise your game, to be the person that you want other people to be able to talk about.
So then, on top of that, if you could ask the peers of the realm to be better at something, or start doing something that would make the game better for everybody, what would that be?
Something for the peers to do to improve the game.
And it could be a behavior, right? It could be like, stop being jerks, like,
That, like, a specific, like, one major thing is real hard, because nobody's the same. Like, it's every individual is their own individual with their own circumstances that they've come from, with their own past, and with their own hangups. Collectively, the only thing that I can really think about is that just making sure that in as many ways as possible to be inclusive. Mm-hmm. I know it's been several years now since the Order of Defense was founded, and there was a lot of drama around that. And while I am happy with the Order of Defense and what it's done, personally, I would have, rather seen it as a third order within the chivalry. Because, there were already two. Why not a third? And just being able to accept that would have been where I would have gone, but I couldn't go back. Like, there's no way to go back and change that decision.
Right.
So moving forward, just to be inclusive in as many ways as is possible is what I would like to see from the peers.
I could totally get on board with that.
That is pretty solid. So I know you're an avid storyteller. So what is your favorite story to tell around the fire?
Oh, so this is the story of Elena the Ribbon Slayer. So in my first household, House Unity, we were, as I mentioned earlier, a little on the fringy side. When I started heralding for the barony of Atenveldt, the rest of that household sort of started getting more involved and getting to lose some of their fear of the shiny hats. And so we were going about, and my best friend, Randolph, we had a tradition that he sort of instituted, which was no pants Saturday.
Wow.
We wore long tunics. Okay, but it was great. And so on top of that, as a way to demonstrate that it was no pants Saturday, he knew the song, the Bonnie Scotsman with the blue ribbon tied around his bow. So he had the house colors, all 5 of them, tied around his member. And but he left them long and trailing, and they were dragging on the ground.
Oh.
And we tried to get him to like cut them a little bit shorter, be reasonable, but he's just walking around all day long with these colorful ribbons just dangling out of his tunic. And so we go past the baronial encampment for Barony of Atenveldt, and we're chatting with Her Excellency Elena, and she does what most of us tried to do, messing with him, was as he's walking, stomp on the ribbons, and he had run across that real fast and learned real fast how to stop short. So by the time Elena got to do it, he had stopped short fast enough that she did not get the reaction that she was expecting. So she reached down and yanked him. Just grabbed the ribbon and yanked.
Yikes.
A few minutes later, they were cut.
Weird.
Weird how that happens.
That's amazing. Ooh. Things noted to never do.
Right.
Okay. Check. You got anything?
No. So that's actually all the questions that we have for you. Is there anything else that you wanted to say or talk about?
Wow. I just wanted to take a moment and thank you very much for asking me to be here and share a little bit about myself. And I want to thank my lovely lady Roz for bringing me the hot chai.
It helps in the show.
And I guess while I'm here, I could also talk about a couple of the things that I'm wearing. So like, I love the blue rose. And
I'm a fan of the blue rose.
It was very nice that I got an opportunity to get inducted at the last pre-plague event. I love my brothers in the blue rose, and
Did we just lose him?
I'm looking forward to actually have Queen's Guardsmen. One of the things that I'd always looked at with sort of admiration was the Guardsmen and how they're just so diligent and always there and always on point. And while I was in a job at Herald, and especially when I was Corona Herald, I didn't feel that I had the time to be able to make that commitment. But I have been accepted on Her Royal Highness's guards, so I'll get to actually be a guard when we finally actually get to be in person. That's going to be super cool. And then I showed the Golden Trumpet, which was my first grant level award. And then the second one was the Order of the Lynx, which I got the Commander. That was my second grant level award, which is for fighting on the rapier field. And then this is the Rainbow's Gold, which is a Barony of Sundragon award. But it is an interesting award. It's actually one of the reasons why I developed my persona to the point that I did, because unlike most awards where you do the thing and you hope that you maybe get recognized and noticed for doing the thing, the Rainbow's Gold is almost like a more like a merit badge where there's a whole list of stuff and you need to do all the things and have a specific set of people see you do all the things. And it is a way to get introduced to archery and hardsuit and rapier and heralding and all of the different aspects of the SCA. But one of the most difficult parts is know thyself. And so having to build my persona to the point that I could go before a panel of 3 members of the Rainbow's Gold and answer questions of, what my persona would have done, what they would have known, currencies that they would have used, who their religious leaders were, their emperor, king, whatever, was a great challenge that really gave me direction to help me hone my persona. And that's something that I don't know if everybody knows about. It's really cool.
I didn't know about that. That's super cool.
Yeah. I would have failed that panel.
Right.
Oh, and then of course, Your Majesty's Grace.
Yeah, I was gonna say I need to be more. I need to do more research because I get too busy in fighting.
Well, you're really, really good at it.
It's a lot of work.
I recently, as part of my New Year's resolution, started doing Pell drills every day.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I've heard from a few people that you do 1,000 hits on the Pell with each hand every day.
No, not every day. Once a week.
Not every day?
Once a week.
Once a week.
I do that once a week.
How long does that take?
Not long, actually.
I can get through it in about 45 minutes.
Wow.
And then, so like usually when I was having like a full open Pell practice, after everybody does, like not everybody gets through it, but like I would get through it and the other member, like they'll work at it and then get as close as they can or finish. And then we do like footwork stuff and, we'll go through like slow work. So it's not the only thing we're doing at Pell, but that drill is more for building the strength so that I can hold my shield and my sword up all day long. It's endurance, and it's great for teaching flow because you're constantly flowing from one shot to another. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I found helps me the
most. So is it 1,000 shots all in like one giant combo? No.
Okay, so have you seen the 1 through 6 drill where you tag your Pell 1, 2? So you take that drill, you go through the whole set with your right hand, like all the way through.
Right.
Or you go all the way through forwards, and then I switch to my left, and I go all the way through the whole drill with the left, and then I'll go backwards, starting at 6 with the right, and then backwards with the left. That's one set.
Okay.
And you do that 7 times.
A lot of shots.
And that's where you get your 1,000 per. It's actually Duke Sven out of Onstior, a very accomplished 2-stick fighter. That's his Pell drill. And everybody he trains, like when you go, they call it Pell Hell. When you go, that's your drill. You start with that, and then the practice opens up to other, footwork and other stuff.
7 times.
7 times.
Okay.
So,
painful, right?
But so what you do is like when you go to do your Pell work, you get as far as you can. And every time just try to go a little further until you get to, once you get to 7, you're like, this is easy. But what the one thing that matters is if you throw a shot that's crap, it doesn't count and you have to do it over.
Ah, okay.
So the 2, because that drill is all in 2-shot combos.
Yeah.
So if either of those shots is garbage, you have to throw those 2 shots again and then move on.
Okay.
But it's a great drill for getting you, and like you start to get a lot faster. That's how, like I said, I can get it done in 45 minutes. But I'll take a break. Like I'll do like 1 set and then grab a drink of water and then do the next set, drink of water. And like when there's other people at Bell, like I'll stop to give direction and then go back to work. But I always make sure I get through all of them.
Nice.
Okay.
All right, Wade. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time.
And I really enjoyed getting to know you a little better.
Yeah.
I mean, we've known you for a while, but it's nice to get to know you, really know you better. And I think a lot of the rest of the kingdom is going to feel the same way.
It's always a pleasure, and I'm always happy to talk and share what I know, and even what I don't know. I'll find somebody who knows something, and then I get to learn too. It's one of the best things about being a jack of all trades is that's a good question. Let's find out together.
But it's definitely been nice to see your face. That being so detached nowadays from everybody, actually getting to have a conversation and see your face has been fantastic.
Likewise.
All right. Okay, well, thank you so much, Wade. We'll talk to you hopefully very soon.
Hopefully.